Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Circling Seattle Sports podcast. It's been a little bit since we've had an interview, at least consistent interviews. That is, this is the Seattle Interview Series number 33. I have UW signee Isaac Yeager, honor roll student at Blanchet, All Metro honorable mention, 2021 WWNA All Tournament team. So, really putting the student athlete thing into reality. What have you been up to? I mean, it's like we kind of just talked about, baseball's kind of been out of the loop. We're getting into the cold season here up in Seattle. So I mean, do you work on things in the off season, or are you just kind of taking time to just relax a little bit?
Yeah, so I went down to Florida for that tournament. That was like my last like in-game work, and then I took like a week off, just kind of like rest my body. And then other than that, I've just been lifting, throwing inside or outside when it's light still. And then yeah, I don't know, just hanging out. I went hitting with my friends earlier since I'm still gonna have to hit for high school, so went pretty well.
So I'm glad that you mentioned the hitting aspect, and we'll get back to that. But just beginning wise, where did baseball really pick up for you? Was it playing catch with somebody? Was it going to a game and watching somebody? Where did the baseball journey really pick up for you?
So I started playing when I was like 3. My dad was super into it. That's where he got me into it. He signed me up for T-ball, and then I don't know, it was always my favorite. I always, enjoyed playing it the most. Like I used to play basketball and I tried football my freshman year, and I never really did like baseball. So I just put all my energy into that, I think.
Did you have any players that you looked up to growing up? I know that, obviously, I'm sure most of what you've got going on is pitching, right? So
Yeah.
any pitching guys, but also I know I've seen that secondary position of yours is first base. I don't know if that's still consistent. So did you have any players that you looked up to, tried to, replicate growing up?
Pitching wise, I was like Felix Hernandez. I've grown up a Mariners fan, so I always try to think because he back in winning his heyday when he threw like the perfect game, won the Cy Young, all that stuff. He was super aggressive, loved to throw fastball, has that good sinker and changeup. So I can't throw a changeup as well as he can, but I have a slider instead. So I just try and attack hitters like he does. And then hitting wise, also being a Mariners fan, I always looked at like Griffey because we both hit left-handed. So
Yeah.
I like guys like that and like big power guys, the left-hand side, like Griffey was. So
No, that definitely makes sense. I mean, it's obviously we've had our struggles here in the area, but guys like that, I mean, anybody from this area, at least in our general age range, it's more than likely who you're going to have to think about. Um, so I don't know if this is a story at all, but how did Blanchet come into the mix? Because obviously we have a decent amount of schools in the area here. Was it a legacy thing? Was it just fit right for you? How did Blanchet become, where you're at currently?
yeah, so one of my dad's good friends with another kid that I play with, and he was always telling me, oh, he was sending his kid to Blanchet. My dad was like, oh, maybe you should check it out. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'd probably just go to Ballard instead because I was gonna know like that's my district school. So I was like, yeah, I don't know. I toured it. I liked it a lot, and I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, it'd be cool to like go there, and baseball was pretty good. Like Jake Lamb, Dylan Lamb, those guys came out of Blanchet too. So I was like, it might be cool. And then I picked it. So that's kind of it. Not like a great story. Just my dad was interested in it, and then I ended up liking it. So
Yeah, no, that definitely, I mean, makes sense. I mean, it even kind of translates, when picking schools is always a big thing because
yeah,
obviously education comes first and foremost. But I mean, really, the guys that are in the program, whether it's the coaches, all that stuff's going to really impact it. If you want to ultimately, make the league, the decisions that are made along the way obviously play an impact on that. Some
yeah,
guys, some schools don't have the resources, so it always is interesting to me to hear how that came along, just because yeah, could have gone to Ballard, could have done things. I know guys who went to Ballard just because it was the district school and that's how it worked out. Others saw opportunities somewhere else and like, hey, that's going to be a better situation for me. You talked about going out for football freshman year, that not necessarily working out as we transition over to Blanchet here. How would you say that, at least as a baseball player, how would you say that you've changed since that time? Obviously, a lot of growth, I'm sure. rounding out the game. But I mean, what major differences can you see from if we take Isaac from this year and we look at it all the way back from being a frosh?
Yeah, no, freshman year. So I hadn't really like took pitching seriously at all yet. I was still pretty small. I was probably about 5'10" maybe. I like had a huge growth spurt. So I was still trying to force my way in middle infielder. There was a guy in front of me. I didn't play a ton. And then, you know, I got an opportunity to go to the outfield. So I started playing there for a little bit. I did all right, but I was pretty defensively sound and I hit a little bit. So, and then sophomore year, I grew a little bit more. I was probably up to 6'2", gained like 30 pounds maybe. They were going to put me in on the corner and then everything got canceled, but I made varsity as a sophomore. And then last year I split time first base and pitching because I was the number 2 guy behind a guy who ended up going to Whitman, I think, named Wyatt Adams. So I was behind him pitching wise. So I'd come in relief or I'd start after him or later in the week. Sorry, my phone. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So I'd start after him later in the week. That's when I was like, because I did pretty good. I had a sub-1 ERA last year. So I was like, I might try pitching. And I wasn't throwing super hard yet. I guess probably topping like 87-ish, which I guess is all right. But, and then I had just a huge velo jump in the summertime. I went from topping 87 to topping 91 and sitting high 8s, 9s, or low 9s. So, just that huge velo jump kind of pushed me over the top of the pitcher. And then I got the opportunity to go to UW, and it was what was going to be best for my parents and me too. So I ended up picking that, and then hopefully just trying to keep developing.
So I I kind of want to poke at it just because it's interesting. Obviously, as a baseball player, I'm sure you know about it, but pitchers hitting. I mean, I know that's for some people. I think there's a clip of Taiwan Walker this past season. He just stand like a statue, not even taking any pokes at pitches. That's been the topic of people that universal DH, non-universal DH. Do you have just a small thing? Do you have a take on that kind of thing? Because obviously it sounds like you're a guy that would probably embrace that kind of thing, be able to hit the ball and as well as take the bump. But obviously there are some people that just want to just completely get rid of it. I can understand both sides of it. But as someone who's, obviously going to do it at the college level, I never pitch at the college level. What are your thoughts on that?
Like professionally wise, I think universal DH would be like a good idea. Like, cause like obviously like Ohtani, like he's in the AL. So like if you're gonna roll him out there to pitch, he's not gonna have an opportunity to hit. But if you're playing like interleague game, you're going like, I don't know, like at the Mets or something, he can hit and pitch. So like it benefits like a small number of teams, which is why I think it'd be probably a good idea to just universal DH pro wise. But like college wise, if your guy wants to hit, like personally, like if I got the opportunity, I'd love to hit, but so I'm never gonna like just watch it. I'm gonna go down swinging. But that's kind of my take. Like I think it'd be good professionally, but college level, I say let him hit.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like you said, there are obviously a few cases, like even DeGrom had some pretty solid at bats. But obviously that's not the case for every single ball club. But there's so many things now in the game of baseball that are such hot topics to debate, getting fans involved. I'm not sure if you saw it, but the report coming out about the league using 2 different kinds of baseballs for different games. So, it's there's a lot going on, and it's always interesting for me to get the perspective of, another fan of the game is also somebody who's playing the game, I know we kind of mentioned it and it doesn't really sound like there was anything, but did you ever have a favorite sport to play outside of baseball, or has it always really just been complete tunnel vision?
Nothing really like ever took over baseball. I really enjoyed playing basketball for a little bit because like I was never really good at it. Like I only played like rec and never played like 8U or travel ball or anything, but I would play with my friends and I thought it was pretty fun. So I was always looking forward for when like the rec season would come around. But then my 8th grade year was the last year I played basketball, and then freshman year I was thinking about trying out, and I was like, like I got baseball practices like starting like in indoor facilities. I'd rather just focus on that. So that's when I kind of fully dropped basketball. But I'll like scroll and like kind of keep up with it every now and again. This year I haven't been doing such a great job of it, but every now and again I'll keep up with basketball.
Do you say that you'd have a biggest strength on the field? I know some guys don't like to really focus on one thing, like to really look at themselves as a well-rounded guy, but is there anything that you really look at as, a personal strength of yours? Obviously, you talk about popping out of the heater at, low 90s. Got some other off speed that, have attracted interest, but is there anything that you personally look at and say that you can point at and say, that's what I really pride myself in?
I don't really care who you are. I'm never going to run away from the zone. I'll always throw the ball at you. So I think probably my mentality of just like throw the ball past me no matter what, I think would be what I'd pick.
Can appreciate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
With that being said, that's actually a great segue. As an athlete, nowadays you've got all these rankings, you've got stars, you got all this kind of crap that kind of goes into, you're playing high school ball right now, but depending on how much you put into it, the skill and all that, how all the chips fall, it can really impact, what you want to do with it and how you ultimately get up to the next level. Do you ever look at rankings or stuff like that? Or is that something that you just kind of be like, hey, I have to control the controllables and do what I can, and that'll ultimately take me where I want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I'll check them sometimes. Like, it's obviously cool to like see where you're at. Sorry, I was it's my bad.
No, you're good.
No, but it's always good to see where you're at, I think. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna either have to maintain it or keep jumping. So I mean, it's like for me personally, it's like cool to see where you're at, but I always want to see where I can be, I guess. Just keep pushing. So that's what I would say. But
So playing at Blanchet, I mean, the Metro division across a good amount of sports has been highly competitive. I mean, basketball, it's a nationwide thing. There's talent. Obviously that's just one sport though. I mean, there's talent all across the board in all the sports in the Metro division. So it's always really cool to talk to somebody, that's got the Metro division experience as well. What has your experience been like playing in Metros? And I mean, do you have any sort of fun memories, maybe fun teams? I don't, to be fair, I haven't completely followed up with my Metro League baseball teams. I know, we had a good run when I was there. Going over to Pasco, losing that championship game in 19, that was terrible. That made me upset. But just get back into it. Your experience playing in the Metro division.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's always competitive. Personally, if I had to pick, I'd say it's probably the best division in Washington sports wise. I think it's going to be the best it's ever been this year. There's a ton of talent, ton of guys, so it should be competitive. And then memory wise, last year I loved we ended up winning the Metro championship, took it home, beat East Side in extra innings. So I love that personally as moment wise. So
I can appreciate beating East Side. That's good stars for me.
Yeah.
So we talked about rankings and that kind of thing. What was your recruiting process like? Was there, obviously at this current point in time, you still got to finish out high school, right? But it sounds like UW is kind of a lock. Obviously, over the course of time, things can change. We've seen that across all sports. Was there ever other schools that you looked at, or was it kind of like, as being from somebody that's around here, right? Was it just kind of like, hey, this is the goal and I'm just working towards it at this point?
Yeah. So recruiting for me went super fast just because I had that crazy velo jump and it was already super late in the recruiting process and I hadn't really got anything else. I was raised an Oregon fan. My dad's from Eugene. So growing up, I always rooted for them, but super late in the recruiting process, obviously, I think it was August when I got my first call from UW. They're telling me, they're talking to me, and I was like, this would be cool. I think I'd be and it was also a pretty good decision for my parents wise, because going out of state is kind of expensive. So being able to stay home, stay close to my family, and then also keep it cost efficient for all of us, I think was a really good selling point for me. So went on my visit. I loved it. I was like, I think this is where I want to play. Talked to my parents and pulled the trigger.
Yeah, in reading the little blurb that they've got on all the guys, I believe it was like for signing, just reading about how some like playing in front of family back here. It's great to hear that, and it's obviously with the way things went last year, looking forward to actually having uh better crowds out this week. This year I had a chance to kind of peek at the field the other week during the men's soccer game. So yeah, talking again, it's getting me excited for baseball again. Obviously, dealing with the lockout and MLB, it's annoying.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to just get baseball back as a whole, and I mean, it. The year that the Mariners last made the playoffs was the year I was born. So neither of us have experienced playoff baseball here, at least in this league. But I mean, last year has been exciting for a lot of people, and I'm just hoping that continues to spur baseball as a whole because I remember going down to the minor league stadiums a lot the past year, going up to Everett, going down to Tacoma. Um, got to get out to some O'Day games. I should get out to some of those Metro League games. You're talking about all the talent that's going to be there. But it's exciting. And so for you to be able to do that and do it here in purple and gold, it should be great. Keeping with that, in a personal statement, you said that you were willing to be flexible for whatever school you play for, including being asked to field. Would you be comfortable stepping into that fielding role if necessary? I know you talked about, hitting and getting the chance to hit. You're not going to turn that down. But if you're asked ultimately to play some in the field as well, maybe early on, is that something you feel comfortable with? I know we mentioned that secondary position is first base, but what are your thoughts on fielding at the college level?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, defense, it's fun, get out there, get to make a play, pick a couple balls, save a couple balls for your team. So if I got the opportunity, I'd jump at it. Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on, the rest of your signing class? I mean, have you been able to talk to some of those guys about it? Obviously, at least if we're looking at the Huskies last year, kind of struggled a little bit, record wise, at least, lose some guys to the league. I know Braden Bishop is with the Colorado Rockies organization now. A couple of guys, obviously not with the team anymore. At this current point, it's a relatively young team. There's not too many upperclassmen on the team. So, I mean, have you talked to any of the guys about it? Obviously, a big signing class out of Hawaii, a lot of top talent there. I mean, just what has the interaction been like, if any?
Just a little bit, like just a few texts, Instagram DMs, stuff like that. And then there's a kid that's going to Seattle Prep that's also committed that I'm like friends with. So I talk to him, throw at them a couple times every now and again. But
I know this is, you're in high school, don't want to throw a ton on you, but have you thought about what sort of, legacy you want to build for yourself at UW? Obviously, the goal, I'm assuming, is the league, right? You look at some of the MLB talent that's been out. I know you mentioned Jake Lamb. Um, it's always funny to me when I think of baseball and you think of UW, there's obviously a pitcher that comes to mind, I'm sure.
yeah,
But are you think about that kind of thing, what you want to leave for this university, or is it more you're just going to let the play for yourself? Because obviously, I don't want to like take all this pressure and just sit it on you. But I mean, do you think about that kind of thing? Do you think about, what sort of legacy? Obviously, I'm sure winning games is square one, but do you think about that kind of thing?
I mean, a little bit. Like it's hard not to, like you always want to be one of the greatest, and always want to like have your name or your jersey be retired or whatever, get one of those banners that they have on the outside of the stadium. But I think for right now, just do my part to keep them winning, get them back to Omaha. Hope they take one home, and then we'll see what happens from there. I think.
With that being said, what sort of things are you working on improving anything in specifics right now? Uh, I know you talked about Felix and working on not having a changeup like that. Do you want to maybe work on a changeup, or do you just, at this current point, is it just kind of improving as all around, just kind of rounding yourself out? Or is there anything that you're kind of just trying to nail down right now?
Yeah, a little bit of both. So I'm playing a lot of change-up toss, trying to pick up a change-up for it to use. But it's hard. I got big hands, so wrapping my ball around, figuring out the grips. But I'm getting better at it. I'm throwing a couple good ones, and then also just tying down my location so I'm not missing pitches over the middle of play. I'm not hanging any sliders or anything like that. Just kind of sharpening up my accuracy, I think.
So all in all, that's all I've got. Is there anything that you want to push out there that you want known about you? I mean, before at least we get a look at you really on the mound at UW. I mean, is there anything where you just kind of a soft spoken guy, don't really like pushing yourself out there too much?
Personally, I think I'm pretty soft spoken. I'm pretty like quiet, concise. Just kind of to the point guy. But yeah, I can't. I can't really think of anything right now.
No, that's good. I mean, I think you kind of gave a preview there. I mean, a 6'6" flamethrower guy that's not going to be afraid to back down from anybody at the plate. I think that speaks for itself, and that should be exciting to watch. And I know that we've got some great ball clubs, at least out on Montlake, obviously talking about the baseball team, but also the softball team has had incredible success on the other side of it. So yeah, I mean, it'll be exciting. As soon as I saw the class, I was like, oh shit, we've got some talent. Oh, I swore. Okay. I got to put the warning on the video now. I always forget about that. But no, looking at the class, obviously some talent, but it's always cool seeing guys who are, from here and, putting on for the city. Cause I mean, this is a Seattle interview series. So obviously going to play near the area, but someone that's from the area, I think that's cool to tie that in there. And really see where, look at this 2 years from now and see what you're doing and what we've talked about from here. So if you've got nothing else, usually put socials already in the description and all that kind of thing so people can follow you. But I mean, if you've got anything to leave us on, feel free.
No, just excited to get to work and go Dogs.
I appreciate it. Go Dogs. With that being said, Isaac Yeager, student athlete to the extent of it. All Metro honorable mention 2021 WWNA All Tournament team and future Husky.